Welcome to another episode of Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any questions or comments you might have. Relics Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky.
You there?
Yep. Go for it.
Hey, Jeff, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Go for it there, Ken.
Hey, so yeah, it's just talking to everyone about everyone. Let us know how we're sounding out there let us know how we're sounding out there in the chat room if you could. How the audio's coming through, but I just want to welcome everyone to Relics Radio and say, hey, it's a Thursday night. Great weather here in Colorado we're having, and it just hasn't gotten very bad. We've had some wind and some rain, but afternoon showers and stuff like that. My co-host tonight is Jeff Lubert from over at Relic Roundup from American Digger Magazine. We're going to be using his call-in number tonight. And I can't ask how the weather's doing where he's at, because where he's at is actually where I'm at. Isn't that right, Jeff?
That is right. It's definitely an overcast, a little cloudy, a little rainy, a little windy. Hey, that's what it is. You know, I'm sure there's worse weather out there in the country and much better out there in the country, but it's all good right here.
Looking into the chat room, I saw Scotty D was the first one in tonight, followed by Bill over at Ohio Relic Hunter, and Dingaling Mark. Boy, you're pushing it there, buddy. Pushing it. We have our guest in the chat room. Merrill is in the chat room. Good to see him in there. Bill Hayes and Barb's in the house. Scotty D, Elusive. I'm just reading through some of the list here and see who's on the thing. Yeah. Hey, Loy couldn't make it with us tonight. You know, he's decided on the last show, he announced that he's going to be taking a little bit of a break. He's a little overwhelmed at the moment, and he needs to take some time off. So he asked Jeff and I to come in, step in, and kind of take over for him, which we're happy to do. Right, Jeff?
Absolutely. Like I said, he's one of our co-hosts over at Relic Roundup every Monday night. And I tell you what, if he calls me and says he needs help, I'm there for him. And so I'm here tonight. Unfortunately, I won't be here next week, but Loy actually will be. So we're just going to do a little quick juggle, but then I'll be back after that for however long he needs me, to be honest with you.
Right. And I'm trying to get set up to produce the show myself. I'm real close. I'm probably only another little tweak here and there, and I'll be good to go. That way I could host it. And then when, it gives us more flexibility. I think if three of us are out there that can host it, I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because otherwise it just falls on one person to produce. And that can be, well, you know what? It can be a little overwhelming sometimes because traffic doesn't always cooperate. Maybe life doesn't cooperate. So you get home late and things are, hectic around here or there or wherever. And
right.
You know what? Just that little flexibility makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Hey, so how's your week been? Were you able to get out this last weekend?
Well, I didn't. Yes and no. Does that make sense?
Got out but didn't do detecting? Or
Right. We actually went out and did some scouting. The places that we detect at, we've been hitting them pretty hard for the last few years. They've been producing really well for us. Not going to lie. They've been doing real well. But some of that is actually now, under planted fields, so we can't get in there. And we actually found some, I'm thinking anywhere between, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different locations we were scouting out. So, went over, looked them over. This is one of those times when I wish I had a drone.
Yeah.
We found a structure that's about a half mile from any road. Didn't know who owned the land at that point in time, but hey, you know what? A drone would have helped us at least look it over and see what's out there. But
it sure does.
We found the information as far as who owns it, so it's good. We're working in the direction, and we're gonna see what we can do. That's
awesome. Yeah, I got a chance to get out this weekend. Did some digging for about 6 or 7 hours. Yeah, we had a good time. We had the kind of similar situation. You know, we've been working the field and this ranch that we've been working on pretty hard and hitting it pretty hard. And there's been a lot of cool relics that have come out of the field. But landowner came up to us this time, approached us and said, "Hey, the land actually it's actually has an old trail that went through it, a stagecoach trail, and it passed through the property. And in the direction it travels, there's another property that we don't have permission on." Well, actually, we do now. Yeah, we do now. That's what the owner came up and talked to us about. He called and said, "Hey, you know, he came out on his four-wheeler and talked to us and said, hey, I was talking to my neighbor over here and kind of explaining. He had seen you guys out here in the field and was asking what you were doing, and I explained it to him, and he invited you straight over to go ahead and detect all his property all you want, and gave us his name and information. Yeah, we were high-fiving, so." I don't know. Maybe this weekend, maybe the next weekend, we'll go hit that new property and see keep following it down the trail and see how we do.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting because I've been watching you guys on the videos and you know, you've been coming up with some really nice stuff out of there. And this last weekend, Beth had a spectacular little find, so that was pretty exciting.
It was, you know, when you were digging out in this area out here in Colorado, you know, cowboys and Indians, all that stuff. What do you hope to find? You hope to find maybe a piece of a revolver or, you know, a breech loading rifle or something like that the cavalry units out here were using. And, you know, both of us, you and I both have come out on some camps here and there from some of the soldiers that's been out here, you know, from the 1860s, 1870s and beyond. And she came up with the barrel. What do they call that, Jeff? They call it the
cylinder.
The cylinder from an old cap and ball revolver, right? Just an amazing find. And I guess they used to preload those. We've done some research on them, and I guess they used to preload those with the powder and the ball and the packing, the wad, and then they would put pre-mount the caps onto the little cap nipple there, and keep 5 or 6 of those on hand. And she actually was able to find
a lot quicker
one.
to reload that way.
Yeah, could you imagine? I bet. Just great. Well, hey, I tell you what, we've got a great show. Excuse me, we got a great show tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely a good show, and our guest here is, I guess you call him well educated in the hobby, and he's been around the block a couple times, so
he has. Merrill Kazanjian. Yep. Merrill Kazanjian is from Metal Detecting NYC, and I've been watching his channel for quite a while, and he's always up to a lot of interesting things. He's done some metal detecting, some mudlarking. He does a lot of things for other YouTubers in the metal detecting community, so I want to welcome him to RelicsRadio. Merrill, are you there?
I am here. I'm pumped to be here. You could have had anybody. You chose the dork from New York, so thank you guys.
We've got the dork from New York on tonight. That is awesome. Well, welcome to the show. We're glad that you were able to accept the invitation and come on over and chat with us for a little while.
Oh, this is fantastic. I was fascinated by what you were saying about the drones. We use historic aerials, a lot of the New York detectorists, but that's kind of the real way to do it. I mean, with the drones, you could see terrain, you could see, you're not dependent on a satellite photograph. So I like that.
Real time as opposed to whenever that satellite photo was taken. It's one of those things where I've been wanting one for a couple, 2-3 years, but it's really never been a high priority. And then this weekend we were out and trying to find a couple locations. Like, I know this one area where there was a stage stop. It was in this one bend of the river. But from the road angle, you can't really see where you are relative to that bend in the river and which ground it actually is on. So, it's just something simple. Save a lot of time.
No, there's a lot of tools out there that are meant for other uses that really you can apply to this hobby that are game changers.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And then drone is definitely one of them. I own a small little drone. I don't fly it too often, but definitely looking for more opportunities to fly that thing for sure. So, hey, Merrill, why don't you tell us a little bit, like, what part of New York do you hail from? If you don't want to get too personal, that's fine, but just from the general area. Yeah,
I'm pretty open as a book. I'm born and raised in Queens, and nowadays, even though I'm metal detecting NYC, and the majority of my detecting is in New York City, I live out on Long Island in my wife's hometown of Freeport, and it's very close. It's right outside of New York City, and most of the people who live here commute into the city. And I just, it's really a great place to detect. I know a lot of people, when they think of New York City, probably low on their list, they're going to associate it with metal detecting, but it's really, a mecca for metal detecting. It's got colonial history. It's got great beaches. It's got a little bit of everything. God knows how many bottle caps, but
I bet you there's one or two there, and a couple pull tabs, right?
A couple pull tabs, absolutely. But with the volume of people comes a volume of drops, and as we know, some of those drops are junk, but some of those are golden.
Literally. Now, does New York City require a permit to go detecting? I know some places.
It does, but it's free.
Okay,
and
awesome.
all you have to do is go online, and you send the paperwork in. They send it right back to you. They're very efficient with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that one of those things you actually have to carry on your person at all times when you're detecting, or or can they just look it up and go, yeah?
I got ticketed in a live stream. That was my first. I'm not going to call it a viral video. It got like 3,000 views, but I was growing my channel, and that was a big jump at that time last year, and I was in the right, and the ticket got dismissed. But
well, that's good.
You do have to have the permit on you.
Okay, and that's something to be learned out there, because certain cities around here actually require permits as well. Here in Denver area, and I believe with those you have to have them on you as well. But other towns I've heard where you just go get the permit, they go call it in, they look it up. So one of those things. Know where you're detecting, know what the laws are.
Yep.
So how long you been detecting? How long you been into metal detecting, Merrill?
2012, I was standing in line at BJ's, and it was Christmas season, and there's this little rinky-dink toy detector, $30, and I had always wanted to do that. I had spoken to a few detectorists on the beach, I think it was like a year before, and I always wanted to do it. And come to think of it, I had a toy when I was a kid, but you can't get out when you're a kid. You can't take it past your own block or your own, immediate surroundings. So it doesn't count. So, I'm an adult at that point, and I'm even more an adult now. And
some would argue about that.
Physically,
immature sometimes. Right. We're working on the mental part, but the long story short. Within the first month, I was out every day, and I had paid for the detector within a month, and I bought my first bounty hunter after that with the coins that I found with the toy detector, and after that, with the coins that I found with the bounty hunter, I got an AT Pro, and it worked the way up. And after that, it's like, no, I'm not going to just do coins for. To get detectors anymore. I'm going to spend a little bit, but it really helped me. It solidified my learning with that. It was a great way to learn. You make sure that you pay it off, and that way you can say to your significant other, "See, I told you, we get it back."
I've got a ways to go, I think. I find a lot of coins and stuff, but I've got a couple detectors, so.
Yeah, now I'm working on her with the CSX 3030, and that's a pretty penny. So that's a little bit tougher of a sales pitch.
Yeah, I know, because I have one.
Oh, you're my hero now. We got to talk.
Yeah,
I got a couple detectors. Just telling you.
Yeah, he's got quite a few. I even have one. He's got so many detectors. Let me tell you about this. Jeff has so many detectors that actually I have one of his detectors. He ran out of room at his house, so it just somehow shoved over to my house somehow.
Well, let me ask you this: what does a guitarist collect?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collects
Right.
detectors, exactly.
Picks and guitars.
Yeah, there might be a couple banjos and guitar players. There might be a couple
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
Jeff's got a lot of detectors and stuff, and I'm on my way too. I think I have 4 right now. And for me, that's for the number of years I've been in it, it's like, and I want more. That's what's weird. There's a couple more right now I'd like to get my hands on.
Oh, trust me,
It's always going to be like that, right?
Yep, exactly. Well, it's really it comes down to where your passions are at. Motorcycle guys. I know many motorcycle guys that have 4 or 5 motorcycles. Okay, I have gun guys. Well, goodness sakes. My dad is a gun guy, and I was sitting there talking with him one time about I have at that point in time probably a dozen detectors. He's like, well, how come you have so many detectors? I looked him square in the eye and said, how come you have so many guns? Last time you ever asked that question.
That's how art museums started. The Metropolitan Museum of Art in the city. It's a bunch of private collections that were merged together, and everybody has something that they care about, that they really want to, learn the most about. Like, I was thinking about it. Like the detectors that we have, they cancel each other out in their quality and, like 90 to maybe 99%. But we're looking for that extra 1%. That little advantage. That's going to make me spend the $2,000, $3,000 for the TX 3030, and we're looking for that little bit of knowledge. That's where it all starts.
Yep. And once again, as I always tell people, a golf bag holds 13 clubs for a reason. Each club hits the ball, but each one does a little bit different job. Yeah. Same thing with a detector. I mean, there are some detectors that do great at separating targets. There's some that do great at identification of your targets. There are some that do great in those mineralized soils, and there's some that are waterproof that the other ones aren't. It takes that bag of clubs to go around to golf. Does the same thing for detectors. Just saying.
And do you justice? You have to have it. You have to swing the detector to know the differences. And I'm trying to get where you're at. I'm trying to collect. Yep.
So I think that's the big thing.
And now, do you have any other hobbies?
I visual artist for the longest time. I have a pretty big YouTube channel with visual arts. I think it's 110,000 subscribers now. But I taught that for the longest time. I just get into a lot of different things. When I was young, it was sports. When it's, after that, it was the arts. And then now it's for the last 8 or 9 years, it's been detecting.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, because I didn't know about the visual arts thing. So I'm at a loss. So the visual arts, what are we experiencing here?
I just do random thing. Okay. I was a business major in college, and then I went to a liberal arts school. I had to take either a music class or a art class. I figured I would be hopeless in music. So I took a visual art class at the time, and I just lived in the studio for like a year. And, it was a good challenge at the time. I got bored of it. Painting, at least, I still have the lens of creative. It's what your inspiration is. You have to go after, and I still take that to this day. I don't see myself ever getting sick of metal detecting. It's a very different feeling that I have when I metal detect. I'd put pressure on myself with arts, with art and with sports, but this is the only thing where I have that huge motivation. But it actually takes the stress away, and that's the difference, and that's why I think I'm going to stick with this like really long term.
Hey, real quick, I want to say hello to a few people in the chat room that have joined us. Paul Forsay is in the house. Ambient Girl, Relic Hunter Nancy, how you doing? Tony over at 5280 Adventures has joined us. I see Lou in there from Indiana Tones. Good to see you, Lou. And the Detecting Zone is in the house. Brett, welcome. Thanks for stopping in and joining the chat room with us tonight. If you're listening in from outside on the replay or listening live here on the podcast, welcome to Relics Radio. I'm DK with Adventures in Dirt, and I'm here with Jeff Lubert, my co-host, and our guest tonight is Merrill Kazanjian of Metal Detecting NYC. And I hope I'm saying that last name correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, it's pronounced Jones.
There you go, Merrill Jones. There we go. That's much easier, right?
Yep. No, your pronunciation was perfect.
Excellent, perfect. Well, I've seen your art channel before. I really am impressed with that. It's great. I've seen you since you've come on the scene on the YouTube scene for the Metal Detecting channel, and been watching you grow and grow. It's been really impressive. You do a number of different things. You even do a little rapping. This is pretty cool. You've kind of introduced and created sort of some of these mock raps to kind of have some fun with the hobby and the fun with your audience. And I think people really appreciate that. How did you get to start that?
Good question. So, for the longest time, I've been a classroom teacher and started out as an art teacher. When my kiddos were born, arts are what gets cut no matter what. I think I was a really good art teacher, but, when it comes to budget cuts, they're going to cut art, they're going to cut music, they're going to, cut what they see as non-essential subjects. Went back to school for special education. And, I was a struggling learner as a kid, and I really, hand me a book, I wouldn't really learn. If you showed me something, it was a little bit better. That's not really always possible in the classroom. But, long story short, I started making raps to reinforce the teaching in the classroom. Because, I'd have a bunch of kids that were struggling and, maybe they were into it. Some of them were into hip hop, and I've taught in the Bronx, which is the birthplace of hip hop for most of my career. And, there's something fun and challenging about saying, okay, yeah, I made a rap on this. Let's see if you could beat it. Because they're going to tell you, they're students. They're going to tell you, oh, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. That's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Even if they love it. But, your ultimate comeback is, well, why don't you do better? And if they do, you praise them, and they wind up learning their stuff. So I started battling against, my students, for years. And, then I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. And I really, like I said, I was hopeless. I felt hopeless with musical instruments. I tried to take the guitar, at one point in my life. Played the violin when I was 7, but that must have went badly. I don't even remember. But, I like the challenge of putting the raps together. And, oh, man, there's nothing more dorky than a rap about metal detecting. And I've probably made about 30 now. So. And I hear I think KD and I are going to battle. I mean, are you up to that, KD?
Yeah. We will think about that. I've made a few songs of dubstep in my life, but I've never rapped over the top of them. But I do have a stepson that's quite the rapper, so maybe he can give me some tips, and you and I can go head to head sometime. That'd be awesome.
Let's just do one live. Come on, I'll sit back. I'll be the judge.
Well,
I'm a dork. Don't live in New York. That's about all I got.
That's the thing. You might be expecting, greatness from me right now. Do you know how many takes it takes me to do it? If I ever got, actually, I just did get a request to do one live. It wouldn't go so well. I stumble over my words all the time, but that's the beauty of recording. You could just, glue the different parts together, and that's where I'm at.
Right. I'd love to see the outtakes sometime. I think a lot of people
actually, that'd probably be entertaining, yeah.
Well, hey,
your next viral.
I heard what Seven said at the beginning of the show. This is a family show, and right. I think there would be a little bit too many, a few too many curses in the outtakes.
Right. Well, let's get over to your detecting. I know you detect on the beach quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is it mainly beaches, or do you ever go inland? And is it just more convenient for you, or you just enjoy it a lot?
I do it all. New York offers it all, and that's the beauty of detecting in New York. We have historic parks, we have beaches. I love beaches, and this is not the year to be going to the beach.
Nope.
people are not going in the water. People are not allowed in the water in New York. And, you lose jewelry, not so much on the beach, but in the water. And I've been adjusting my practice, I guess if you could call it that, to adjust. And I was thinking about it today. I just bought a sniper coil, and I've been hitting the parks. I've been hitting the shaded areas in the parks. Because if you think about it, the grass is longer in the summertime, and you could get those parks, when the weather is colder, and get those extra inches to your detector. But right now is the time, a golden time to look around and, do the shady areas in parks.
Right.
One of those things I always tell people, and they don't think about it, the northeast side of the trees. Why? Because the shade in the afternoon is in the northeast side.
Wow.
That's where people are going to be sitting.
That's brilliant. I see what you mean.
So, yeah, I've been telling people that one for about 20 some odd years. But
so how's the pandemic affected you there? I know New York got hit really hard, and how's it really affected where you go and what you do?
Well, it has shut down the school that I work in, and everything has gone, towards digital online learning. And I'm actually the person that's in charge of that for my school, like all of the email addresses, all of the. I've stepped into admin. I do all of the data, and I'm in charge of the department that handles the tech.
Wow.
And so it's a task, but you lean on people. It's turned into a good thing, because one of the things that has been a huge challenge for me, I could spend 4 hours a day in the car, and that's just not natural.
Right.
And that's one of the things that has really gotten me into metal detecting, because I would just get all sorts of ticked off on the roads, and it's like, nope, there's a better way to do it. Diffuse yourself, know yourself, hit a park. I know every single park on the way from my job to home. I have basically cleaned out those. Well, not true, actually. I've cleaned out a lot of those parks, on the way home and to work. So, it's something constructive to do instead of getting ticked off at traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, you bought the sniper coil to go to these parks and stuff. What machine are you using currently?
I think the same one that it seems like 90% of the world is using right now, the Equinox. I use the 600. Yeah. I bought the Amphibio last summer also, and it's a great detector, but it didn't make sense the same way that it did, because I'm coming from using a MindLab Safari, which I still occasionally use.
Yeah, still a good machine.
It's still epic machine, but it translates really well to the Equinox. It just made sense to my head, and that's really the best detectorists that I know. They just have that understanding of their machines. Anytime you start with a new machine, it's it's a learning curve, and you don't have that innate knowledge of it.
Yeah, you got to put the time in with it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Hey, but there's a question in the chat room for Merrill. It came in from, I'm going to go for it. Dingling Mark in here wanted to ask Merrill, why are you called Nincompoop?
Oh, Lord. There's this lady who I actually sent a text to, who she probably can't figure out Spreaker. She's brilliant as a mudlark, the best in New York. Her name is Adele. And if she likes you, she gives you a hard time, and you get called all sorts of names, and Nincompoop seems to be the one that stuck with me. And I called her that right back, for the record, but yeah.
Yeah, she is amazing, You featured her on one of your videos, and I think the first time you brought her out and showed her on video, people just fell in love with her. And her personality, and she's full of life and full of vigor and full of, crass, and really gives it right back to you as much as you give it to her. And it's really fun to watch. And I kind of want to transition into this part of your story, because this part of your story, this part of your story is really interesting. Let's start with talking about Dead Horse Bay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Dead Horse Bay, and then we'll get into what you do there.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so New York is, it really has an eclectic mix of options that you can choose to treasure hunt. You don't even need a detector. In fact, a detector will not work on the majority of the area of Dead Horse Bay. It is to make it simple, it's a broken garbage dump, but one with a whole lot of history. And there were people that lived there on a place called Barren Island that it really was an industrial hub that almost nobody wanted to live on, except for the off-the-gridders, New York. You know, there was no plumbing lines for the longest time. The smell, they had fish processing plants, horse rendering plants. You know, a horse would drop dead from use in New York. It would be shipped to Dead Horse Bay. It would be boiled down. And that smells as bad as it sounds. So, you know, there was, there was a group of people that just decided to live there and work there. And there's an amazing story. And there's a book called Barren Island that tells it. I'm just giving you a small amount of that. And the people that lived there eventually were kicked out by Robert Moses, who is the guy that basically made the street grid for New York. New York was growing. We were starting to get a global economy. And his challenge was to make the roads. And a lot of the areas that we have in New York, the Bronx especially, you know, very, very shaped by Robert Moses. And, there were some areas that were cut off, and it made housing like less likable, less in demand. And he really, the choices that he made, and he had a tough choice. That's the thing, because he had to put the road somewhere that people could, travel and connect New York, because we're going from the horse and carriage days to the car days. And long story short, the Barren Island people were kicked out eminent domain by Robert Moses, and they built a long, road and a bridge right through. And New York, for a big part of the 20th century, used it as its dumping ground. So you have all of this early to mid 20th century garbage being shipped to Dead Horse Bay, but they were really careless with capping it. So on a day that the sand is down and you get pushed in from the beach, you're going to see easily 50,000 bottles. Wow. And 50,000 bottles.
That's amazing.
Sakes.
And we're talking about, some of them 1800s, some of them like even earlier. And, this place has all sorts of legends there. There were pirates that lived there, buried treasures that were never found. And it's just a one-of-a-kind place. And the story of Adele, who really, anytime she gets on the screen, and I'm good with this, she becomes the star. She just has that gravity. Memorable lady.
She's really a legend there in New York.
She is a legend. Really she has to get autographs. People ask her for autographs now. And, I'm happy to have, I always kid her. I'm like, hey, I'm your biographer, okay? So, she goes every day. She is a hardcore treasure hunter. So I have utmost respect for her. We give each other hell, but much respect.
That's part of the fun, right? Right there. Come on now.
Yep.
So what size area are we talking about here? Like, what's the beachfront? What size, what length of beachfront are we talking about here?
I'd say somewhere between a quarter of a mile and a half a mile. It's not big, but it's broken cap, and stuff spilled everywhere, and it continues to spill out.
Wow. And then when you go out, how many people do you think are out there hunting along with you? Not just your personal group of friends, but overall. Is it like a big popular thing that people do, or do people look at you cross-eyed, what you doing out there walking in the mud and the muck?
It's become that. There was one weekend that I saw like 50 to 100 people out.
Wow.
The guy who actually introduced me to Dead Horse Bay, he's in here, the detecting zone, Jonathan.
Okay.
So, he's the guy that really kind of started this story, too. I wouldn't have met Adele if it wasn't for him. So everybody should definitely check out his channel, too. But it really is an epic place, one-of-a-kind place. Not big, but the craziness of it is on any day, you'll see stuff on the surface. You won't see it the next day. Adele has found 2 Morgan dollars on the surface.
Oh.
Yeah.
Crazy. We're talking about, you don't need a detector. You just need to walk in the right spot. You do need to do some digging these days. It's getting more competitive, but
how do you see that stuff, Merrill? I've seen your videos, and there's just so much between broken glass and glint and trash and everything else. Like, you found a trime out there.
I found a trime out there, and it's a skill that you have to build. But you know what's crazy? I lost my pinpointer there, and here I am, thinking I'm a good mudlark. I could find anything here. It took me 2 hours to find my bright orange Garrett carrot. Okay?
But yet you find a trime just like that.
But I find a trime, and that was the ultimate bit of luck. I don't know how to feel about it because I didn't uncover it detecting. It's still treasure hunting, but I guess it's my half bucket lister because you want to pull it with it doesn't matter. Who cares?
No, it doesn't. You found it. Come on now.
There you go.
Somebody lost it. It was buried somewhere. You came along and found it. You two were meant for each other.
There you go.
There you go. Man, that's awesome. The videos are just incredible. And I encourage any of you that haven't seen his videos on that. I posted a link to his channel. We'll also post it here in the description of the show. For those of you listening in on the podcast or catching the replay, you can just click on his link down below and head on to his channel and check out all of his mudlarking adventures and also his metal detecting and his rapping, too. He's got it all on there, and it's a lot of fun.
I mean, the rap goes with metal detecting like peanut butter and jelly as far as I'm concerned. Yep.
I would have never thought that until you came along, my friend.
Thanks, KD. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's an odd combination, but sometimes those odd combinations work.
That's what makes it fun, It just you'd never expect it.
Yeah. And you're right. Like, I never had an impression of metal detecting in New York as being a big, target for a place that I'd want to go detect. And I know that upstate New York, up near the border and stuff, like I was up there and did some detecting up there. And I know there's a lot of War of 1812 stuff up there and revolutionary stuff. But I just never thought of coming down, in the New York City proper would be a target for me. So you're helping to turn that impression around for a lot of people.
I really can honestly say it is one of the best places in the world. Well, I don't know if I could fully say that because I need to get to more of the world. I need to travel more, no doubt about it. But, I have gone to a few different places. And sometimes when I'm detecting, elsewhere, I'm like, this is not New York. And it is such a variety of places that you could go to. And it's so big. Like, I've lived here, I'm 41 now, I've lived my whole life in New York, and I must have seen 50% of the city, perhaps. Wow. There's so much traffic, that's the thing, and it's so spread out. There's 5 boroughs in New York, and really, it wasn't until last year that I started, I've driven through Staten Island, but, in terms of going there, I think I played a few baseball games there when I was younger, but, now I got friends there, and, I go there all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big area. It's New York City. Come on. It's been there for, I can't even tell you. It's been there for, since the Revolution, really. So, and prior to that, so good history.
New Amsterdam, yep.
So why wouldn't you consider it to be a great place to go metal detecting, I think. It's just one of those things. We don't have that kind of history out where we're at right now. That's why we have to travel to places like that to go find that good history.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're on a clad mission, boy. I'll tell you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, that's what I like about your channel, Merrill, is you do a lot of interesting things that not a lot of other people are doing, and I think that's why you're seeing the success you're seeing. I think a lot of people are really taking to it. So, yeah, tell us about this sort of clad journey you're on.
Well, I appreciate that. Metal detecting, there's a lot of serendipity involved. You get these pleasant surprises, but you can't count on them every day, and that's also what makes it special. Now, clad is the stuff that, maybe the detectorists in the future, that's going to be their serendipity. That's going to be their surprises. But right now, it's what we see and change. So it's not that special. So I started a series on my channel, and the name is kind of clickbait, I'm not going to lie. It's called Becoming a Millionaire Metal Detecting. Now, there is a math involved, and this is, you can check this. This is legit. If you take 40 years, if you invest $2,000 per year, and you get 10% on that each year, which is the tough part, you'll be a millionaire. 40 years. Now, here's the thing. I started this at the age of 40 last year, and I'm hoping I'm still going to be able to swing a detector at the age of 80. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that I am ahead of the math. So I use clad. I pull at least $1,000. Last year, I was something like $1,050 in clad that I pulled. New York people like sweat clad quarters, okay? Like you sneeze, it's either coronavirus or a quarter flying, like that's just New York. And, it makes you appreciate if you put it together. Okay, guess what? That can be a few shares of stock if you put it together. So what I've been doing is I've been collecting the clad, and I have been investing in the stock market. And I realized that last year I spent quite a bit of time just digging up clad. It took me a year to get $1,050, and I really don't think that 2,000 is possible. So what I have to do is I'm taking my channel revenue, since I got monetized. Anything that I get from my channel revenue, I'm also putting that in the stock market. I started doing some affiliate marketing and stuff like that, and see how we could just turn air into wealth. And it's an interesting concept. It comes from a speech that I heard Warren Buffett make about innovators. And really, innovators are the people who are the true alchemists. They could just turn an average object into gold. And that's what I'm trying to do. We have clad. We don't appreciate it, but let's make something from it.
And it's sort of like, yeah, it has found its way into a strange relationship you have with Taco Bell. Do you want to chat about Taco Bell for a bit?
Well, what makes you think that's a strange relationship? I mean, I think it's a very logical thing there. Well, you got to celebrate. And anytime that I get a ring, the tradition is to get Taco Bell. I'm a foodie, okay, and happily married, 41 years old. The days of having washboard abs, which was really, I think it was like 1 year in my life, and then I'm like, okay, this is overrated. I'm a foodie. Yeah. Those days are over. So we celebrate. When we have something serendipitous happen, we celebrate. If we get silver, find a silver coin. We unlocked Haagen-Dazs. So and the list is growing, and some of my buddies who are in the chat right now, they've added to it too. If you find a car, Matchbox car, Wendy's,
Oh, geez.
So we're having fun with the fast food restaurants. Oh, but gold. If you get gold, you get sushi. That's my favorite food, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. People come to know you from your YouTube channel, and I mean, right now in the chat room, there's people that actually know what you order at Taco Bell because of your videos. There's people that know what your creed is when it comes to the Taco Bell. So congratulations.
I am honored. I hope Taco Bell, realizes that, they haven't paid me anything for this. I'm not asking them for anything. I've always liked Taco Bell. That's the truth. That's my favorite fast food restaurant. But hopefully they're like, wow, this guy can,
They have to come knocking at some point, Merrill.
They had the Chihuahua, in the early in the 90s. So
they did. Oh my gosh.
They should adopt a detectorist, okay?
Right. The dork from New York, the next Taco Bell spokesperson. I like it.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Got to rock the dork.
Well, it's pretty entertaining, I tell you, to watch all this stuff going on. And another thing you do is you really support the YouTube community. I mean, I think people can tell already from listening to you that you're into data, you're kind of analytical. And if they watch your videos, they'll see a lot more of that. But you do something kind of special for the metal detecting YouTube community. You put out a list of the top 1,000 metal detecting channels month after month.
Yeah, it's now up to 1,500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be up to 2,000 soon. And, I wouldn't be able to do that one by one. And, I use some data tricks in order to do that. There's public data that's involved with YouTube. It's not like taking anybody's private information, but the stuff in your channel, such as how many subscribers that you have, which you have the option of hitting a button and saying to YouTube, like, no, I don't want this displayed. But anybody that's has that public data, it's the subscriber count, the number of videos, the number of views, and stuff like that. And I put it together, and we measure the growth on the first day of each month. And, I think of it in terms of an economy. An economy never functions to its maximum possibility in isolation. You need other people growing, and it really helps to have those numbers, because you could see, okay, you know what? I put 2 videos out. I have a 5% growth rate this month. And, people have sent me a few messages, and I'm thankful for that. And they said, okay, now I can really quantify myself and my channel, because I know how quickly I'm growing. And there's been a few new channels that have kind of popped up, and I'm not taking credit for that. But, it gives them, I'm not going to say no to somebody if they want to be on the list. It's meant to be inclusive. It's meant to be free. It's the gift that I can give as a data guy. That's what I do in my school. So I do it, and it helps me too, because they wind up going to my Facebook page. And, it's been a good growth thing for everybody.
Right. Yeah, watching it's been interesting for me. I keep my eye on the YouTube community, metal detecting YouTube community, quite closely. And you coming along and doing that has really given me just another tool to help me along with some of the stuff I'm looking at. And some of the things I'm really interested in are the people that do, the percentage of change from month to month for certain people. Yeah. I like to see who's improving and who's consistently improving and taking a look at what they're doing. Because I'm not beyond watching what other people that do something well. I'm not beyond watching what they're doing and trying to learn from them at any point in my life. So being able to have a list at least points the way. At least gives you a signpost that says, hey, this person's doing this person's doing this. Oh, and look how much they've changed over last month. They must be doing something right. Let me go take a look and see what they're doing and see if I can glean anything off of it and learn something from it. So, hats off to you for doing that. I know it's a ton of work, and I know you, now you're committed to it, right? You've kind of been doing it. It's been growing and growing, but hats off to you for that.
It still will never be the same as getting on the weekly dirt, because it's happened to me twice. And I'm telling you, I geeked out, and I told my family, I'm like, I'm on the weekly dirt, and they look at me like, what the hell? Has he gotten even weirder? Like,
Is that possible?
So, yeah, I probably not, but it seems to be changing in that direction every day.
All right. Very nice of you, though. I'm glad to hear that too, because I would hope that that's the way people feel. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have fun putting the show on, just like I'm sure you have a lot of fun putting those lists out and doing your raps, and this crazy world, this crazy thing of not only metal detecting, but putting out YouTube channels and trying to be on. Who would have thought we'd be as at our age and have as much social media as we do? You know what I mean? It gets crazy sometimes.
That's the fun of it too, because we give people an alternative, and there's a lot of doom and gloom, and really the world, if you focus on that, sure, it becomes doom and gloom, but there's a lot of great stuff that happens too. Exactly. And we get to spread that.
Well, and it's another break from that reality, a.k.a. the doom and gloom in the world, is to go out there and hit YouTube and see. This is a subject, everyone that's listening to this enjoys, metal detecting. That's why we're here. And it's just great to see people having success out there, or even the average everyday detectors going, you know what, I live in small town wherever, and I go out and find clad. Great. All right, let's see it, and let's enjoy it. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those things.
You cook a meal, and you want to see people enjoy it, and that's a little bit like YouTube. You want to share.
Yep.
Now, do you ever get your students out to go detecting with you? Have you ever taken any of your students out with you?
I fundraised for it this year, but the school closed, so we actually have a program that's starting in my school that has been fully funded. People have been throwing stuff in my direction, and I'm so thankful. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful at all. We are fully funded. We could now take 10 kids if we wanted to. Actually, no, 8 kids to the park right now with detectors, with pinpointers, with shovels. You really don't want more than that because, one, you want to keep the kids safe. You have to keep your eyes on everybody. And when you're teaching a little bit about detecting and, because sure, you could show them the videos and you could teach them in the classroom. No way. Not the same as having a detector in your hand. When you're doing that, you have your eyes off of everybody else. I don't want more than 8, going out. So, that's a good number. As for former students, look, I've taught for 19 years. Some of these people are my co-teachers now. So, one person who was a student in my first class, she's working on her principal license now, and she wound up coming to my wedding years ago. It's still very close. I got her a detector. We go detecting sometimes. So it's such an awesome hobby. Your brain has to be wired for it. Some people, you hand them a detector, they're like, "Wait, why are we doing this?"
Yep.
But I'm telling you, for the people who are wired to do it, it's yoga. It's our yoga.
It is, absolutely.
Do you remember your first find, your first wow find that kind of got you hooked?
Absolutely. It was in my yard, and it was with that toy detector. And I had no clue about silver being looking exactly like the day that it was minted. And it was right in my front yard, right by a tree, swinging, heard the signal, pulled it out. Here's this 1936 Washington quarter.
Nice.
And I'm like, this is a toy. This can't be real. And then I found out. I looked it up, and I was like, oh, my God. Silver looks just like the day that it's minted. That's why we are silver crack, it's an addiction.
Yeah, and that's hard. After you find that first piece of silver, you definitely want more. It's not like, oh, I've walk away. No, then you're not addicted to the hobby like majority of us that are listening. Once again,
Yep.
It really is a therapy, as you're saying.
Yep.
An addiction and it's therapy all at the same time. Now, what else can you do that's an addiction and it's therapy?
And any investment that you make, it gets paid for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't beat it.
You can't do that with golf, I can tell you that, unless you're really good and do a little side betting. But,
there you go.
You buy a set of golf clubs, guess what? It's going to cost you money every time you go out. Detector, it can pay for itself.
Most hobbies I have suck the money right out of my pocket, and I don't usually have any possibility of ever recouping any of it. Detecting, even though I don't sell anything really, it has the opportunity and the possibility of maybe someday giving a little bit back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, Merrill, I got a question for you here.
Okay.
What is your ultimate find bucket list item that you haven't found?
Oh, boy, haven't found. I've been knocking them off the bucket list this year. I've been on a real hot streak, but I don't want to. Okay, that sounds like no. Okay, look, the thing that fascinates me, and I know KD did this. You went to Europe. I saw that,
right.
And I think if I pulled a Roman coin, or if I pulled a hammered coin, if I pulled a gold coin, I still haven't hit that one yet. Those are at the top of my bucket list right now. I mean, the stuff that we find that are colonial coins here, like you find a real, they're all over the place. And stuff that's
they're all over your place, not out so much on Denver. Harry, just saying.
No. I mean, what I'm saying is, if you get a colonial coin, King George, okay?
Yep.
King George. You go to England, it's like, oh, okay, well, that one's from the 1700s.
That goes in the hedgerow.
Right, exactly. But if you pull it here, it's like, we got a colonial coin.
Exactly.
Oh my God! But it's, yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's all perspective. You have people that live over in the colonial areas, and they're wanting to go to England. They're wanting to get older and older and older. We live here in in the Midwest. We live here in the Colorado state, and we're dying to get to the East Coast so that we can get some of those colonial coppers. And it's just all relative. It's hard to appreciate where you're at. I was a guest one time on a live stream, and somebody really made me think. So Scott made me think of the history seekers. He made me think about this state of Colorado we live in, Jeff, and he was really saying just how unique of an opportunity we had here. That everyone was pushing west, the big migration west. Everyone coming out here to find the riches with the mining and everything like that. And a lot of the people, when they left the Civil War, they pushed west and this big migration, and it's sort of part of what made America America. And it. He really got me thinking about it differently than I had before, because I had always had this desire to go east. And, maybe I was guilty a little bit of not appreciating the fact that what we did have here. And he really kind of turned me around on that. And ever since that day, I've had a different opinion of this. But I still, like I started my conversation with today, I still would like to go east and get some of those colonial coppers out there digging with Charlie Harley or some of those guys, or even coming out and meeting up with Merrill and going and digging some areas there in New York.
You are always welcome. One of my favorite coins that I ever found, it was a Connecticut state copper. And if you think about that, you can't get that in Europe. And that is American history right there. That's articles of Confederation America, at a point where, very vulnerable, could have been squashed. No central, power to lead us at that time.
Right.
And you had states going on their own. That might be my favorite find of all time.
One of my favorite coins, for colonial coins anyway, is that New Jersey copper with the horse head on it. That's just, I don't know, it's a great piece of history. I'm a coin guy, and that one just gets my juices flowing.
Yep.
I so badly want a pine tree shilling. I'm going to have to buy one because I'm never going to find one because of where I live. If I get out there out east, I might be able to, if I'm stupid lucky, find one. But you got to be stupid lucky even if you live there to find one. So.
Yeah, Greg at Finding America said he would love to find a Fugio. That'd be absolutely awesome. Or a Nova Constellatio. I think I'd just freak out about something like that too. That's just an amazing coin. All that'd be great. I think we're going to do, we're at the top of the hour almost. We're going to open the phone lines.
Good idea.
And we got a new number tonight, so it's not the normal number. It's the number for the American Digger Magazine Relic Roundup number. So I just posted it in the chat. If anybody'd like to call in, feel free. Jeff will field your calls. We'll get you on the air to ask Merrill a question. I see that Stephen just came in. Good to see you, Stephen. And for those listening live right now on the podcast and maybe not in the chat room, why don't you say that number, Jeff?
All right. The call-in number is 678-439-1863.
That's right, and phone lines are open.
Yeah. We always got to say that out loud because there's a lot of people that listen that aren't in the chat room. So
That's right. Well, I was looking at some of the stats, and boy, it's incredible just how many people listen that aren't in the chat room, that aren't active in the chat room, that are actually listening live. And we want to welcome you all. Again, if you miss, and if you need to go and you need to catch up later, you can always catch the podcast. Any place podcasts are shown or offered out. You can find them at Spotify and Spreaker, of course, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Yeah, it's just they're everywhere. And the amount of downloads we get every month is just incredible. I had no idea that we would get this many downloads in a month on these podcasts. But we do appreciate you listening, absolutely. And if you're joining us new, take a look down. We've had a lot of great podcasts here in the past, and if you look down there, you're going to find something that is going to catch your eye, I'm sure of it.
Oh, you're not
one more
kidding.
time.
I saw some of the names that are there. I'm kind of honored to be here. So, thank you.
Absolutely, Jeff. You want to put that number out there one more time?
All right, we'll give it another shout out. 678-439-1863. And I tell you what, if you're out there listening in one of these, recorded shows, join us live sometime. Realize some of you can't do it all the time, but give us a listen on the live side. Join on in and give us a call too.
That's right.
It's fun.
Yeah, anybody out there listening, you want to call in and talk to Merrill and ask him anything you like. He says he's an open book. He's willing to answer any question you got. But remember what Loy said at the beginning of this show, it's a family show, so we got to get them. Also, if you do call in, make sure to turn your speaker down so that we don't get a lot of feedback. That would be awesome.
Yeah, because got to tell you, it gets very confusing if you're talking and all of a sudden you hear yourself 2 or 3 seconds later, because that's our kind of our lag time. It's 2 to 3 seconds, and if we hear that, I'm just gonna drop you. Just saying it.
Yeah, that's right. Merrill, what's the most historic site you think you've gotten permission to hunt on?
That's a good question. Man, yeah, it's got to be a place in Brooklyn. Everybody likes Prospect Park. I'm not so much a big permission guy. You don't really need them in the city. There still is a lot to get. You have to be able to dig. You have to be able to really understand your detector. But there's just so much to dig here. The fact that you could have a park full of detectorists and you're still pulling Indian heads. You're still pulling silver. I've seen this for a year now. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing to have a park that's been hit for years and years and years that still produces. But that's what happens, especially in these locations like up north where you get this freeze thaw thing going on. It moves things around in the ground. What was not detectable last year is detectable this year. So
wow,
it happens. Hey, we actually have a caller right now. So we have a caller at 5079. Who are you and where are you calling from? And the floor is yours.
Hey, fellas. This is FVR calling from White Plains, New York.
All right.
Actually had the pleasure to meet Merrill once down in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and I'm a regular listener to this broadcast as well as a viewer of Merrill's YouTube videos, which both shows fantastic and can't get enough of both of them.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask Merrill a question or two, or actually make a suggestion or two.
Sure.
Regarding his YouTube program. I see you trying to fill that box of silver, and I think also at what point you mentioned that you have a lot of silver, or at least some silver that's foreign silver that's not in the box.
I put it in.
To know if you were going to put it in.
I did.
Did you get it in there? Great.
Yeah.
And also, Merrill, I see some of the finds that you pull. Like I think just the other night you pulled a pistol ball or a musket ball from Park and Fort Greene. And I was wondering if you were considering maybe just tagging those separately so over time you don't lose the context of the history of some of those relics. Now that you're digging more diverse areas, you are finding, I think, some more relics, and it would be great if you had to preserve the history on those.
That's a good suggestion, and I completely agree with you. Because where my mind tends to go is, okay, what's next? And go. I get a goal, which is to fill, it's just a cigar box. If anybody, the fill the box thing, I have a cigar box. I usually love, at this point of the year, beach detecting. And this is just not going to be a great beach detecting year because people are not in the water because of COVID. So, when you get lemons, make lemonade. So we're trying to fill the box with silver, and I've been doing 2-a-days, and you're right. I just throw it in the box. I really don't put the location on it, and that's a good suggestion, especially the Fort Greene musket ball with the history that was there. That was a legitimate American Revolution musket ball. I strongly suspect. So I agree with you. I think that's a good suggestion.
I'd love to see that too. And also, at the end of the year when you fill that box,
thanks for the faith.
I was hoping at some point that you might then pull your best finds from that box and put it in a display case so we could kind of relive some of your best finds in the silver.
Definitely. What I was trying to do is, and I've actually haven't done this in a while. I started an Instagram. I'm more of a Facebook person, but I really like the gallery function of Instagram. And, you could really see all of your finds all at once. You could scroll down. And I've changed my Instagram from just the personal Merrill Kazanjian to, metal detecting finds. And, every now and then I've been adding more and more. And it's Instagram.com, at Metal Detecting NYC. I hear you too. Like I got to do a video on that and just, or a live stream. That would be more, because I could respond to questions. I like that. I appreciate that suggestion too.
So FDR, let me ask you a question. So you watch his content a lot. Do you have a favorite sort of scope that he does? Do you like his metal detecting, his mudlarking, his rapping, his his Taco Bell visiting? I don't know. What do you I tease, but do you have a favorite?
I think it all roots back to the fact I think Merrill just has of course he has the passion for the detecting, but he also has he's a real bright guy, and he has a lot of diverse interests, and the whole package together is really, I think, what grabs me. I love the setting of the goals, getting Taco Bell, his little catchphrases like mech, which I find myself doing once in a while when I'm detecting. Just educating about the other YouTube videos. That's been a great resource. And the mudlarking is, that's a whole other dimension to it. So I think it's a great package.
I'm honored.
I tell you, Merrill, at some point, I'll personal message you and hope to go out with you someday.
Please do. I'm honored with what you said, and really, it inspires me to keep going on. So thank you.
Yeah, very well said.
Thank you, thank you guys at RelicsRadio. I won a T-shirt from you guys a while back, and
excellent.
I love roaming around wearing it.
That's perfect. Well, we appreciate you listening in, participating in the show by calling in. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, thanks.
Very well said.
You guys have a great night.
All right, you two take care.
Okay, I'll take care now. Bye-bye.
Yeah, he said that very well. You are sort of as, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because you are kind of this whole package, or at least what you put out there, Merrill. As you can see, I mean, you can just if you're in the chat, you can check it out. People know your catchphrases. They know a lot about. And that just shows you that when people watch YouTube channels, they invest in the person, they invest in the personality, and it's not so much about what you're finding as much as it is about how you're presenting it and how you're connecting with your audience. And one of the reasons why you've grown as you have is your ability to connect with an audience. And again, my hat's off to you. I think you're just doing a great job with it.
Thank you so much. I got a funny story about the meh. I always yell meh when I find like a bottle cap or something that I don't like. This just happened a few hours ago. I had no idea that there was somebody that was like right around me about to ask a question, and they probably didn't see the camera attached to me, but I pull up the bottle cap and I yell meh. And I think I scared the lady because she went from like about to ask me a question to like, does he speak English? What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
I quickly moved on. It was one of those things. It was like irrecoverable. It's like, oh, yeah, let me move to the next section of the park. Yeah.
Do you get that a lot? Do you get a lot of people looking at you strange when you're out there filming yourself? Because I've been there and done that, and it takes a while to get past that feeling of, yeah, a little strange, but
that's the latest thing that I'm teaching about now on the channel, and everybody has a different reaction to that. And I'm not telling people to do what I do, but if people have questions, it digs me in that much more. It's like, okay, yep, I'm accepted here, I'm good here. So I do try to, if somebody passes by, you make eye contact, you smile at them. It's taken me a while. I think I'm a naturally shy person, and I think teaching was good for me in that it forces you out of those habits. And, to the point where somebody passes, it's like, yep, you're the approachable one. It stops me from metal detecting sometimes, but, I think it helps solidify me wherever I go in a park, that it's like, all right, this dude is not a threat. He's, it's what he likes to do. So let's let him dig.
Well, that's good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, we actually have another caller out there waiting ever so patiently, which he always does anyway. So, Denny, you out there, my friend?
Hey, Denny.
I'm out here. Hey, Merrill, I got a question. How many GW buttons have you dug?
0. And that's on the bucket list. But, I've seen those pulled. I've seen people's reactions to it. And that's the era that I really love in American history. And I would probably, I'm very rarely I'm at a loss of words. I would be at a loss of words. I would absolutely geek out.
Well, if you get out of those playgrounds you're hunting and parks and get out to a field, you might find some. I got a buddy that's found probably 7 George Washington buttons up your way.
Good God.
But he ain't hunting no parks. I got news for you.
Yeah, he's out in the field, right? Have you found
He's out in the field. Yeah. No, I don't.
No.
But he's invited me up there several times, so I should go. But right now I'm not.
Wow.
No, but that's where, not detecting in isolation, that's where friends come in. It gets you out. Yes, you give up some of your spots and such, and you just, it always turns into a fair trade in time. Right. So there you go. And I've never really dug a farm. You're saying fields. I'm pretty much sticking to the city at this point. And this year has been an amazing year of branching out for me. But obviously, there's other levels that I have to go to. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Do you? Well, I know you're hunting towns, so apparently you don't use a GPS on your phone to find sites.
Yeah, no, I've used historic aerials, and it's something perhaps as a growth area for me that I have to look into. So, I
like you said though, Merrill, that's going to be the graduation. It's going to be an evolution of you and your journey, and I think that's one of the charms of your channel is you bring people along with your journey, and this is what you're doing now. You know what I mean? I'm sure people will continue to invite you out, and maybe they'll invite you out to a field or a farm here and there, and you'll get that in your blood a little bit, and then you'll turn your attention towards educating people about your journey, in that direction as well. So I look forward to that.
I'm totally open to the fact I do not know everything, especially with IDing items. It's so funny. I've just given up on even speculating what some things are. I'm like, I know there's a lot of smart people watching here. And, I've used the group ID Me on Facebook and such. But, oh man, the best people at IDing this stuff are the people who watch. And, as long as you're open to learn, your growth, it's going to be evident. You always have to be open to do that. And believe me, I don't know everything.
Yeah. Hey, Denny, let me ask you a question. Because that's a good question. You have such a wealth of knowledge. You've been doing this for so long. When's the last time No, I'm serious, and I'm not here to flatter you or anything. I'm trying to say, when's the last time you've actually come up against an item that you really had a hard time IDing? You know what I mean? Because I think, even when you and I met out at Digging in Virginia, it was really obvious that you had a lot of knowledge behind you. So do you still run up against things where you're like, I have no clue?
Yeah, even in Virginia, you'll dig something and you want to, in fact, I've got one laying in front of me right now, and actually it came off of a horse bit, I had no idea what it was. And until someone else posted it, I went, oh, I got one of those. So, you learn by watching, especially on the ID posts. A lot of guys will post something on there, and you're like, you know what, I got one of those. And you go back in your junk box and dig it out, and yeah, there it is. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
actually was out 3 hours today, Jeff, looking for that ring again.
Oh, yeah?
And I didn't find it. I told the woman because the 1-year-old child was playing with a $4,500 ring, lady's wedding ring, and lost it. And I told the lady, you better go to the doctor and get that child x-rayed because it may be under yet, and if that cuts something inside of her, she's gone.
You didn't scan the child?
Pardon me?
You didn't scan the child? Or was
Run
the
the
child
coil
right there?
over the child.
I've done it.
I don't
I've
know.
been there, done
I
that.
mean,
Really?
Yeah.
No, she hasn't done it, and I looked 2 days ago. Last week I looked for that ring, and then I went back again today. I searched the whole yard. I dug up every piece of aluminum foil. I got 4 or 5 pieces of tools that he had lost in the yard. But I didn't find the ring, and I even went underneath the porch with my dais, and I got nails and bottle caps and so forth, but no ring.
Wow.
So I even called my old buddy Glenn Watkins and asked him some ideas too, and he came up with the idea that you ought to have the child x-rayed just in case. So it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's cheaper to run the detector over, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It would pick up on it.
I
It
could hear
would
that
pick
kid
up on it.
screaming, ah!
You're right.
Nah.
Get permission first, Danny. Get permission first.
This person, right.
Well, we appreciate you calling in.
Machine?
Go ahead.
What kind of machine do you use, Merrill? I got here late. Maybe you'd already said that, but what kind of machine or machines do you use?
I was about to start asking you about the dais. That is next on my hit list. I used the Equinox 600 last year. I also bought a a Nocta Macro Amphibio, and I didn't feel the same. It was not like intuitive, and the Nox. I picked it up. It made complete sense to me, and I've stuck with that. This year, I've got the 15-inch coil and the sniper coil for it,
Nice.
and I've been having a lot of fun with those.
Sure. Yeah. I wish maybe, I don't know, maybe Deus, or maybe I should talk to Gary from France. I wish the Deus had a little 6-inch coil. I think that would make that machine out of this world.
Well, the hard part is all the fixins there's a lot of circuitry inside of that coil. Because it does transmit, and I believe it only can fit within that 9-inch coil at this point in time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe they can micro down it even more, but it comes down to literally they need so much space to get that circuitry in there. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm doing all right with what I like. That's my 11-inch myself, and I do use my high frequency occasionally, especially in a cornfield.
I use my elliptical in the cornfields. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So, all right. Well, that's all the questions I have, man. I'll let somebody else come here.
Well, thanks for calling in, Denny.
Thanks, Denny.
All
We
right,
appreciate you calling in. Always.
Good program, you guys.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Denny.
All right. Good night.
Yeah, and just put it out there. You know what? If you're looking to call in, the call-in number is 678-439-1863, and we'll get you in.
So where are we going from here, Merrill? What's on your agenda? How about events? You plan on going to any events if they ever come back? I know that right now that's not the time to think about it, but maybe next year there's an awful lot of events. Do you ever have any hankering to go to any events?
Yeah, I want to start doing that. I was talking to Indiana Tones about that, and I know he's in the chat or was before. We wanted to go, the one with upstate New York, there was one.
Yeah.
Pound the Ground, I think it was called. The one I'm definitely going to, I'm going to be an instructor there for Matt Gondigan, the beach. Oh my God, not Beach Fest. Yeah, I'm blanking. Forgive me for being unprepared for that one, but that one I'm definitely going to in October, and hopefully everything else opens. I want to do more.
Say, was that the dig stock that you're talking about?
No,
The one up north that used to be Pound of Ground changed to Dig Stock, but there's no Matt Howell with Gone Digging has an event coming up all about beach detecting over in Florida, and he's got Merrill coming to do some instructing, and that's in October, right? I forget exactly what he named it.
Yep, October.
But it's a good event he's putting on. He's going to do some education classes, not just make it just a hunting event, but also turn it into more of a education and a lot more events going on at the event. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he puts that together, and we'll see if I can make it. I sure would love to. Yeah.
But that would
cool. Very cool.
What part of Florida is it going to be in?
It's going to be in Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. That's right. Did I say Florida?
You did. That's why I was confused. It's like, why is he going way down there?
Well, first we're going to Florida, and then we're heading over to Virginia.
Yeah, as of right now, it's me, Matt. There's an author who I'm blanking on the. Oh man, shame on me. And Gigmaster is going to be there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a pretty talented crew putting on some. I guess. Well, I don't know. What do you want to call them? Sessions.
They're doing just some education sessions and stuff, and how to. There's a lot of people, like us. We've hit beaches, Jeff, and in our travels we've hit beaches. But a lot of people that aren't near a beach maybe don't know how to hunt a beach, or the break, or what to look for. Right. So having people like Merrill there and Steve, Gigmaster, those are some great people to have around to just say, hey, here's what we do, and give some advice out. So it's going to be great.
He wrote me an email like earlier this week, and he's sending me a one of the masks. A great guy, and I wrote him back just like this fanboy. I'm like, oh my God, I got an email from Gigmaster. Dude is an epic detectorist.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the guy that goes like every day, makes videos every day, pulls great stuff every day. And I'm like, oh my God, he knows who I am. Like that's a score right there.
There you go. And just to fill people in that are listening, it's called the Gone Digging Beach Blast, that's October 17th and 18th, Saturday and a Sunday, and it's down in Virginia Beach. That's right. So, you look it up on the internet and just search for Gone Digging Beach Blast. You can find all kinds of information about that there, and get signed up. I'm sure it'll go on. It's in October next year, so. Should be good to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of the beach hunting that you're doing or have done, I guess, because we're not really doing much beach digging this year.
Yeah.
What are some of your highlights that you've dug out of the ocean?
Gold and platinum, and it's weird. But good weird. If you think about coins, if you think about silver. Every time that you pull a silver coin from the ground, there's probably not going to be one that's going back down that's going to replace it.
Right.
So, but the beaches have that cycle because people are always losing stuff. And the other thing that's really appealing to the beach for me, other than the zen of doing it, is that you get different objects. Like once you get a bucket lister. I'm not saying it's going to be boring the second time. No, it's not. Of course not. But I'm telling you, if you get a ring, I've never... No, actually, that's not true. I was going to say I've never gotten the same ring twice. I have. But for the most part, you get a different ring every time.
Right.
And, there's something that's really exciting about that because, you could have so many... Indian head pennies. You could have so many seated dimes, but a ring, it's going to be different every time.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. How many rings do you think you've come up with over the years?
I think I'm at 237 right now. And I'm telling you, if you compare the rings that I pull in parks versus beach, you get so much more at the beach because people's fingers shrink. You know, like when you go in the water, think about it. You go swimming, you leave your hands in the water, it gets all wrinkled up, and rings drop. You know, it happens every year.
And the physics of it, rings actually get larger because they shrink towards the center of mass. Center of mass is actually the center of that band. So the rings actually do get slightly larger, and your fingers get smaller.
Yeah.
Whoa, mind blow! That's awesome. we got to talk. I'm still geeking out about your tip about the Northeast with the trees. That's some brilliant stuff. I gotta observational. It's you know, that's the science of metal detecting. We observe and we apply. And the beach, you know, the stuff is always moving. And, you know, you could have depth really doesn't matter at the beach if you think about it. Because I have found 2019, I remember this like yesterday. Deep target, it was easily 12 inches down. And it was a penny from 2019. And same thing, I have found surface, you know, buffalo nickels, silver coins, right on the surface on other beaches. So, you know, you get pull in, you get push out, you know, and such. And it just, anything can be anywhere. It's always moving.
Right.
And you just have to look for those patches that happen. And coin lines going down the beach. It's a philosophy. You know, like there's strategy to beach to park detecting, but beach detecting is a philosophy.
Yep, I agree, and it's a different world than any other detecting I've ever done. I guess because I've done it in multiple locations, and it always seems to be the same as far as beach detecting. There are coin lines. There are, once you start getting down into, you know, these cuts that are there, it's just funny. I've been in some cuts, nothing. Next cut, nothing. Next cut, nothing. And then I finally found one that I could not leave it. I stayed in that one cut for, I bet you, 5 hours, just going back and forth. And this is a cut that went from ankle deep right by the water edge to about chest deep, went out in the deep part of it. And I stayed in there for several hours, and I pulled out like a dozen rings and probably about $20 in change. It just kept turning over. So it was awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah. If you hit the right spot on the beach, it's. I would take that over winning at a slot machine. You know, you get more. You really get more.
Hey, we have another caller.
Yep.
So our
who we got
is at 1672. Where are you calling from? And the floor is yours.
Hello, this is Lou DeFeo, Indiana Tones from Staten Island, New York City.
Hey, Lou.
What's going on?
Hey, Lou.
Hey,
what's up,
good
man?
evening, guys. How's it going?
Doing good. You know this guy, Merrill, Lou?
Oh, we go way back. This is my boy right here.
Oh, good. You can dish some dirt then, Lou.
Yes, sir.
You sure could.
Great times.
What have you been up to?
Yeah, great show.
Are we going detecting after this?
Ooh, not tonight. Curfew. Yeah, maybe tough.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Well, today I went on my first magnet fishing. Somebody invited me out there, so we had to get done by like 7:45 just to get home in time.
Yeah. Lou, have you ever gone out mudlarking with Merrill?
Yes, in Dead Horse Bay I have, yes. Found some interesting stuff there. I must say that place has the most unique smell, and you'll never forget what it smells like when you leave there.
You're not kidding. You are not kidding.
And New York City has a lot of unique smells, but this is the only one I've ever smelled before.
Really?
That brings up a serious, interesting question, though. You guys ever worry about the toxicity of the place?
Lou does.
Yes, I do. I'm a neurotic, yes. But I'll still go.
Yeah.
So even before COVID, even before, gloves and masks were in style, he didn't wear a mask there, but Lou would wear these gloves to Dead Horse Bay. And really, it's the smart thing to do. It's the, it's what you got to do, because there's these puddles of sludge that are there. It's just like, what the hell is this? I look at them sometimes. I'm like, if I dropped a match there, is that flammable? Like you just wonder. And there's
or would it reach out and bite you?
Possibly.
True.
Yeah, and sadly, there's they disposed of a lot of hypodermic needles there, so you have to be really careful there. Plus, there's ticks, so it's
wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about the good side of it, let's say, but oh man, you have to get. It's like Indiana Jones. You have to get through. Only the penitent man will pass.
Right.
Yeah. I'll take snakes over ticks, though. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yep.
Jonathan mentioned that Dental Bay smells like a mix of asbestos with just a tad of formaldehyde.
Yes.
Nice.
Well said. Well said.
I definitely smell that.
It reminds me of PCBs that I smell in a utility company.
Wow.
PCB.
Oh yeah, that's pretty strong stuff for sure. My gosh.
And
Well,
you also have to be careful. And, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you have to be in New York City. At one point, there was a lot of corruption, and who knows what's buried anywhere.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to find a ring with a finger attached to it. And maybe more.
You never know.
You never know. You never know.
I'd still go to Taco Bell. Might get rid of the finger first.
Yeah. Well, Lou, we want to thank you for calling in.
Hey,
right,
everybody, check out my boy Lou, Indiana Tones. Great channel. I enjoy detecting with him very much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Keep safe. Keep swinging.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Lou.
Well, listen, Merrill,
Take care.
I want to tell you, you've been an absolutely fabulous guest. Thank you so much for coming on with us tonight.
My pleasure.
We're going to end the show down here. I want you to hold on, though, so we can chat with you afterwards. Just kind of hold on the side here. But if you want to have any final words before we let you go.
This was awesome. I had a lot of fun. Tell you what, if a guest ever says 5 minutes before the show, I can't do this, blah blah blah. You just call Merrill. He'll be there.
You're our go-to
This was
guy.
fun.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
That's good to have. We appreciate you, and keep up the great work out there on your channel and your Facebook group and everything. And for those of you who want to know, he also has a great Facebook group. It's Metal Detecting NYC on Facebook. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. But yeah, great guest, Merrill. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you doing it.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, you want to go ahead and say your goodbyes, and then I'll say mine, and then we can go ahead and hit that closing music.
All righty. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. You know what? If you haven't hit that like button yet, please go out and do that. If you're still hanging around. So definitely helps out the ratings and helps us know that we're doing the right thing, too. And to tell you what, if you enjoy the show, why don't you check me out Monday night. I'm not doing the show Monday morning. Monday night, American Digger Magazine's Relic Roundup. Yeah. Meh. All right.
Start over.
All right. Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, American Digger Magazine's Relic Roundup. Myself, Butch Holcomb from American Digger Magazine, and Loy is there as well. So check us on out. And after that, I think I'll just send it over to you.
Yeah, hey, you guys do a great job over there. I always love that podcast as well. And like we said at the beginning of the show, Seven's taking a little bit of time off and stuff, and hopefully he'll join me next week because I don't think Jeff's going to be here next week. So we might see him back next week. But yeah, overall, he's going to take a little bit of a break. And so you'll hear me and Jeff and who knows, maybe other people down the road on here on Relics Radio. But we're always going to line up great guests for you. We appreciate everyone listening in. You can catch us anywhere podcasts are found out there. You can find us on Apple Podcast. You can find us on iHeartRadio and Spotify and just anywhere podcasts are found, Podbean. So we appreciate you guys listening. And like Jeff said, hit that like. Hey, I'm DK with Adventures in Dirt. You can go over check out my YouTube channel, Adventures in Dirt. And we're going to have a great guest for you next week. I can't release what it is right now, but I'll see you here shortly. We'll release those ads for you, and we will see you next Thursday. Have a good night, everybody.
Wow, that's cool.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker. iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Podcast, and many other podcast outlets. Relics Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so that you get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. Be sure and visit Digging with 7 on YouTube and check out the Relics Radio Facebook group page. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. And we hope that you'll join us next Thursday night. Until then, get out there and dig some history.
Yeah.